October the 3rd, 2025, Port Everglades, Florida. What began as routine surveillance soon uncovered one of the largest criminal networks ever buried inside the U.S. supply chain. Intelligence had traced the shadow of the Black Gun Network, an empire disguised as marine logistics, but built on weapons, blood, and laundered money. Beneath the cranes and dock lights, the network moved more than 2,500 rifle kits, 12 million rounds of ammunition, and nearly $200 million in cash through Florida ports. Enough firepower to arm a small nation. Every container labeled marine equipment was actually a shipment of death, bound for the southern border and the cartel armies waiting beyond it. This wasn't petty smuggling. It was an industrial-scale pipeline that replenished cartel firepower every single month in Texas. Now, 300 federal agents and Navy SEALs were mobilized. Their mission: crush the network before dawn or watch it spread beyond control. 0420 hours, October 3rd. Port Everglades woke in whispers. Cranes' creaked horns echoed over dark water, and a line of steel containers sat under sodium lights like sleeping beasts. Inside a warehouse masquerading as a marine fittings business, men clocked in as if everything was legal. It wasn't. This was the factory floor where parts became weapons of war. For months, investigators tracked a pattern that looked ordinary on paper, but was lethal in practice. Each sealed container held two 500-component kits: barrels, bolt carriers, triggers, serialized frames. One container alone could build 200 combat rifles in a week. Multiply that by 3 containers per week, and the math was devastating. 600 rifles a week, 600 a month, over 180,000 weapons a year. The organization called itself the Garrison Shield Network, a bland corporate name hiding a machine of violence. Invoices listed marine hardware. Bank transfers wired millions to shell companies. Behind the paperwork, cash whispered through hotel rooms. Investigators traced at least $180 million per quarter through dummy accounts, enough to fund smuggling runs, pay off officials, and fuel the cartel's war chests. The containers sailed under legitimate flags, then rendezvoused with small freighters 60 nautical miles offshore. From there, 7 unregistered skiffs per convoy slipped through the dark coastline, offloading cargo to hidden trailers that moved south into Tamaulipas. This was no spontaneous crime. It was industrialized arms trafficking, audited and repeatable. Port Everglades was the keystone. Cut it off and the whole machine would collapse. From October the 7th to 9th, analysts stared at screens for 2 sleepless nights. Across the Gulf of Mexico, digital pulses told a story no one was meant to see. A joint task force of 300 agents, FBI, ICE, and naval intelligence, pieced together a map that blurred the line between business and war. 12 cargo ships had repeatedly shut off their AIS trackers for exactly 42 minutes each time. Every blackout coincided with a ghost pickup by a smaller vessel headed for the Texas coast. The data team ran the numbers. Each convoy could move 600 rifle kits, a cartel battalion's worth of firepower per week. Meanwhile, 912 wire transfers through 34 shell companies linked Florida and Panama to the Mexican border. $180 million moved every quarter, laundered through casinos, freight firms, and crypto wallets. One account alone withdrew $12.7 million in 28 days, exactly the street value of the weapons. At 2:47 a.m. on October the 9th, a satellite picked up thermal signatures of 7 unregistered skiffs leaving a freighter 60 miles offshore. Simultaneously, FBI agents intercepted radio chatter. Cargo ready transfer green. The pattern was clear. Commanders shared one look and sent a single encrypted word: execute. Northern Texas, 5:30 a.m. engines roared. Rotors beat the air. Boots hit mud. 300 federal agents, Navy SEALs, and HSI operators advanced on a compound that had once been untouchable. At 5:33, the first breach team cut through the fence. Muzzle flashes erupted from warehouse windows. 3 armored trucks raced out under gunfire. The SEALs answered with precision. 2 AT-4 rockets obliterated the lead vehicles. A hovering Black Hawk tore the third apart with .50 caliber fire. 70 cartel gunmen fought back with AKs, PKMs, and grenade launchers. Over 700-800 rounds fired in 15 minutes. Tracer fire sliced the fog like red lightning. Inside one SEAL squad found 200 rifles, 90,000 rounds, and crates marked with 8 different cartel insignias. Another team stormed the control building, seizing $4.6 million in cash, and ledgers detailing 3 more upcoming convoys. By 5:47, 2 Apache gunships arrived, their 30mm cannons ripping through the last resistance. Towers fell, fuel drums ignited, and explosions rolled through the valley. By 6:10 a.m. it was over. 29 cartel fighters dead, 38 captured, and millions in cash and weapons recovered. Objective Alpha, secure, came the SEAL commander's voice over radio. The network's spine was broken but not destroyed. 2 days later, October 11th, the second phase began, Operation Iron Ledger. Agents raided 34 shell companies across Florida, the Bahamas, and Biscayne. Servers were seized before anyone could wipe them. Inside, they found $62 million in frozen assets, 280 accounts tied to weapons shipments, and transfer logs totaling $740 million over 18 months. In San Antonio, ATF agents hit a safe house belonging to the network's logistics broker. Hidden trucks carried crates of AR components and suppressors, over 5,000 weapon kits ready for export. A brief firefight left 6 suspects dead, 1 agent wounded, and the building in flames. Meanwhile, in Mexico City, DEA liaisons and local forces captured 11 cartel intermediaries and intercepted 7 weapons trucks on Route 85. Forensic analysis confirmed direct links to the Florida accounts. By October the 12th, the full picture was clear. The Black Gun Network was a $1.2 billion industry, moving faster than governments could react. The Joint Task Force had cut through its core. Over 17,000 firearms, millions of rounds, and $250 million in assets were removed from the black market. In Washington, D.C., the press conference was historic. ATF, HSI, DOJ, and Navy Command stood together under one banner, Operation Iron Chain. More than 5,000 fully assembled firearms recovered, 12,000 kits seized, $245 million frozen, and 41 high-value suspects detained across 3 countries. Within 2 weeks, cartel violence along the border dropped 28%. In Tamaulipas, homicides fell to an 8-month low. For the first time in years, a local father told agents, "My children slept through the night." But victory came with a warning. Forensic accountants found campaign donations tied to state-level officials, suggesting political contamination. Investigations continue, even as crates of seized rifles sat under tarps in Fort Lauderdale. Analysts knew remnants of the network were already regrouping in Central America. New routes, new currencies, new blind spots. This was not an ending. It was a fracture point. The battlefield had shifted from dirt and steel to data and finance. And the next fight would be won by vigilance, not by bullets. From the charred yards of Far to the secured hangars of Fort Lauderdale, every confiscated weapon now stands as a reminder of how close the border came to drowning in guns. What started as data points on screens became a war across land, sea, and servers, and for once, that war ended in America's favor. Analysts call it the largest disruption of the illicit arms economy in the Western Hemisphere. But for those who fought it, victory was measured in silence. Children walking to school without fear, towns where night finally fell quiet,